Hi everyone. I hope you're all having a great day. Something that I was just thinking about is thinking about thought, as if I don't think about thought all the time. Anyway, what I was thinking about thought is that thought is energy in motion, and emotions are reactions to thought. They're actually physical feelings that we can feel based on the things that we're thinking or the thoughts that we have. And there are different kinds of thoughts that we have. We have thoughts that we think of in our mind when we're sitting there, we're thinking about the day. Okay, what do I have to do now? This is this. And then there are thoughts that just come in at random times when we're not thinking, when we're just sitting or watching TV or washing dishes or washing the car or going on a walk. And those are channeled thoughts, those are guided thoughts. And so it just takes recognizing that we have lots of different thoughts going on in our mind. The ones that are chaotic, that feel out of control, in my experience, those are the ones from the humanistic realm of consciousness, which means my thoughts. Because once I get those swirling thoughts out of the way that keep reoccurring, that come up from my psyche, then it's like peace. Sometimes I just sit around and there's nothing. The channel's just completely clear and quiet. And so for me, if I have something that's going around and around in my brain, I visualize. I think, okay, this is something that keeps coming back in my mind. We can tell what kind of thought it is, whether it feels good or not. And so what I do is if it's something that doesn't feel good, something that if I'm overthinking or I just can't let go of something that I need to let go of that keeps reoccurring in my mind, I will visualize myself going, stop, and give myself a second to breathe deeply. Because conscious breathing changes the vibration. It grounds it. It starts to clear it, the energy. And so when we take a few minutes to do conscious breathing, which means breath that we're aware of, the calming breath, that changes the frequency and gives us a minute to clear the mind. But we can actually visualize ourselves doing that. For years and years and years, I could not sleep. And I could not sleep without the TV or the radio on, some sort of distraction, because there was just too much in my mind. And so I started clearing those things out. So then now I'm able to sleep without the TV or anything on. But one thing I used to do at night when I couldn't sleep, when I couldn't get my mind to clear, was count. I read somewhere one time about counting numbers and counting on the inhale and the exhale. And I would go on the inhale, I would count to one as many times until I couldn't breathe anymore. And then I would exhale one. I would say it in my head, one, 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 one. And then on the inhale, two, 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 two. And I would do that. And generally I would fall asleep before I got to 10. It just takes those little things that we can do to retrain our thought. So back to having the swirling thoughts. I literally just tell myself to chill out. And sometimes I have to do that more times than 10, depending on what's going on. And it just takes us talking to ourselves inside. If something doesn't feel good, stop it. It doesn't mean it has to go away. We can just stop it. And either we can embrace it, which means acknowledge it. We take responsibility. There's an awareness of the thought, right? We're embracing it. We're welcoming it in, to sit within it and to purge, to ascend higher into that thought process that we had. Or we can simply just tell our mind that, we don't want to deal with it at the moment. Sometimes we're not in the position or the place to actually like sit and go through our thoughts. And so what I do sometimes is I just go, oh, okay, Lori, focus on what you're doing. That thought will come back up later for sure. And that way I can continue to refocus. We don't have to carry around the weight of our emotional energy or anyone else's. Sometimes we have energy that just comes in out of nowhere, that all of a sudden we may feel sad or extremely happy, or all different types of emotions. And generally, I know when those are not mine. I can feel the vibration of something else. Intuition will tell me that that's not me, and then I'm aware of it, and then I let it go. Um, because the cycle in our mind, the energy that comes through and the thoughts, there's so much swirling all the time. I mean, think about the brain. Think about how you can listen to a song, you can taste something, smell something, and then something that you haven't thought about in 20 years comes back. It's just amazing how we're shown things and whispered things from guided truths to show us the way. And if something feels out of control, if something feels chaotic, if something feels painful, those are emotional triggers, energetic pulls from the psyche, from the guides, whispering in those, those thoughts for us to embrace those things, to push them, to not push them away if we can sit within them, because until we grab a hold of what's going on in our thought process that keeps reoccurring, it will not stop reoccurring. I used to run from my own mind my whole life. That's why I used drugs and I drank and all sorts of things. And it's because I didn't know how to live within my own mind. But now that I'm becoming more aware and more aware of those things, I've removed drugs and alcohol, and I'm removing all of the things that are artificial frequencies that don't align. And the channel opens, it becomes clearer. We start producing more serotonin and dopamine and oxytocin, and start to have more energy and feel better. Literally, physically, we start to heal ourselves just by clearing out the thoughts that don't feel good. And one of the things that always comes into my mind when I think about how I used to always run from myself, from my own thoughts, is I think, why? Like, why do we do that? Well, first, we don't realize we're doing it, right? We're just trying to live every day and all the stuff that's going on the inside and the outside. And it takes stopping, chilling all that out. I mean, it's a process of elimination to ascend. So it's not like those things go away overnight, but it's just the awareness of that. The awareness is the key to everything. Because in a perfect world doesn't mean that we don't have things that are imperfect. It just means that we recognize that things are imperfect and we can make them perfect if we want, which means they're no longer in our lives anymore, or we've changed the frequency. So it's really, even though we're not really in control of a whole lot energetically, we are absolutely in control at the same time. It's a really cool duality. It just takes the awareness of it. So when it comes to our thoughts, if you're making yourself crazy, if you're making other people crazy, just take a second to breathe. Or if someone else is doing it, maybe say, hey, let's take a time out and let's just breathe for a minute. And you don't even have to breathe. That already changes the frequency. Life is very simple, family. It is not that hard, even when it does feel hard, because it is hard sometimes, but it's just the awareness that it's hard. And then it doesn't feel as hard. It sounds complicated sometimes. It feels complicated sometimes. But once we let go of taking everything so personally, especially ourselves, that's number one. You can't take yourself personally, because every thought, every feeling comes and goes. And we feel different degrees and different levels of those thoughts, depending on what we're doing on the outside of ourselves and on the inside of ourselves, and just things that happen organically, which is most of the time. We're just the conduit, the receiver, the observer. Yeah, it's all about awareness. I love you, to the moon family. I hope you have a wonderful night.